the future of work is the future of worker well-being. I'd like to challenge everyone that's listening to ask themselves, what are you doing today to further your well-being, to further your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, your physical well-being, and your mental well-being? Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't really take care of our families, and we can't do the best work for our organizations.
We have the pleasure of welcoming Jeanne Meister today to our interview series. I'm your host Anushka Rajesh from the peopleHum team. Before we begin, just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end OneU integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM, that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Jeanne C. Meister is the managing partner at Future Workplace. She is a regular contributor to Harvard Business Review, Harvard Management Update, HR Executive, Journal of Business Strategy, SHRM, and many more. She's a workplace visionary and activist, driving her clients to think differently about work, the future workplace, and the future workforce. We are extremely happy and honored to have someone of her stature on our interview series today. Welcome, Jeanne. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to our discussion. So let's get going.
Yes, it's absolutely our pleasure. So the first question I had for you, Jeanne, was, can you tell us a little bit about your work that you do with Future Workplace?
Yes. At Future Workplace is an HR advisory and membership organization, and we work with leaders of HR, talent, and corporate learning to help them prepare for the all-inclusive future of work and future workforce. And we do that in a number of ways. First, and importantly, we have developed the Future Workplace Academy, a collection of online courses, each 5 weeks in duration, on timely topics such as using artificial intelligence for HR, solving business problems with people analytics, or radically transforming your learning function. These are some of the topics. We have an aggressive course roadmap, and we will be adding many, many new courses over the next 6 months. Secondly, we have a membership organization of heads of HR and talent, and we meet with them monthly to understand their needs and challenges. And this is especially important now, especially during this coronavirus pandemic, where I am based in upstate New York, and we are still very much on lockdown. Many of our clients have said that they are working from home. In fact, our last poll we had, about 90% of our clients are continuing to work from home. So we are committed to upskilling the HR and HRIS teams. We're committed to providing the latest research and understand the challenges that our heads of learning and HR are presented with during this global health crisis that we happen to be in.
That's amazing. That's really some great work you're doing out there, Jeanne. And it's great you've started these courses that people can actually avail sitting at home during the lockdown. So that's...
Yes, we're definitely, yeah, that's what we're committed to provide easy and accessible ways to add your credentials while you're in lockdown, or if you've unfortunately lost a job, this is a way to add a new credential to your personal portfolio.
Absolutely. So just a follow-up question, Jeanne. So according to you, what is your opinion like on the all-inclusive term, the future of work?
It's been a term that everyone defines differently. And to me, it really means preparing ourselves, importantly, our teams and our organizations for the massive digital transformation that we are going through. And this is not just with technology companies, but it's with every company across organizations. So I think that especially important during this time, we have to take into account the global health crisis, the global economic crisis, and the global upskilling crisis. We still have strategic needs that are being filled with our workers. Many of our HR clients still are struggling with finding the right talent to fill roles that will lead their organization into the future. So I think, this is really an exciting time to be in HR. This is HR's moment to thrive, and I'm looking forward to working with many more HR leaders.
That's absolutely amazing. That's so fascinating. So, Jeanne, the term digital HR. So, how digital do you think digital HR should be, and what would be, the key areas where technology and digitalization can help?
Well, I think everything that can be digital will be digital. Everything that can be virtual will be virtual. And I think the trap we've gotten caught in with digital HR is we focused on the technology. And I think instead we have to continue to focus on the people and the experience that these technologies are creating. We at Future Workplace have done our several polls, most recently the 2020 HR Sentiment Survey, where we have an ebook that is on our website at futureworkplace.com. And during this challenging time, the number one issue for HR leaders is to double down on investment in employee experience. And it makes a lot of sense, especially if 80% of our knowledge workers in the United States, or even perhaps globally, are working from home. The nature of the employee experience is more important than ever. In fact, I did a Forbes column on that with that title. And so we feel that HR leaders have to respond with understanding the components of the experience, to respond with agility, and to understand how to create the most compelling experience for their workers wherever they work.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more on this one.
Yeah.
So, employee engagement is becoming increasingly important to organizations, especially during the pandemic, as a driver of, productivity and stability. So, what sort of tools and processes do you think are needed for leaders and organizations to focus keenly and closely on employee engagement?
Well, I think following up to our most recent question here, I think the first one is using tools, non-traditional HR tools that come out of the marketing department. Tools like design thinking and employee journey mapping, in order to understand and get at the root cause of engagement and why some employees are not as engaged as they possibly could be. We have to, in HR, take some lessons from our colleagues in learning, in marketing, and in customer experience, to understand how are they getting at some of these issues with their customers. So I think the most forward-looking HR leaders that I have encountered that are really doing extraordinary work on employee engagement and employee experience point to the fact that they're using these non-traditional HR tools and doing hackathons with their teams, HR teams, and including marketing teams, to understand what are the pain points, what are some areas that could be improved. And they're going further by doing very detailed employee journey mapping to understand journeys, let's say for new hire onboarding, or journeys even for the recruiting process. Here in the United States, one of the trends that we're seeing is that everything we've talked about for the last, say, 5 or 10 years about the future of work is being accelerated, right? And one of those issues are things like using artificial intelligence for HR, right? If we talked about it or researched it a couple of years ago, now we're really getting serious to pilot it, because we really need to automate routine tasks so that the employees that are left and on the team are adding more value in a more strategic way. So, it's the future of work is not so much preparing, it's here, it's now, and it's being accelerated. I think one of the issues we're not talking about that we should talk about is the impact on employee well-being and employee burnout. There is a serious issue with Zoom fatigue. It is a real thing. And here I am. This is my 4th Zoom call today, right? And it's only 9:00 Eastern time. So we have to, and I really take good personal care of myself, with lots of walks and meditation and exercise. And it's something that I'm much more aware of now that I'm exclusively working from home. So for me, the future of work is the future of worker well-being.
That's very, very aptly put. I'm so glad. And that's such a fresh perspective you give our audience out there, Jeanne. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, how do you think organizations deliver a meaningful employer brand? Like, how relevant is social media or, digital as a strategy?
Well, I think candidates expect the same type of consumer grade experience from their current employer or their prospective employer that they are experiencing when they shop and they bank, and now everything literally is online and it's seamless and it's accessible 24 hours. And we've been talking about that for decades, but now we have to do it in order to stay in business, actually. So I think that one of the newest things we're finding here in the United States is the growth of completely virtual recruiting. Now with lockdowns continue in many states here in the United States, there are many employers that are interviewing and have jobs to fill. And so we see a growth in complete virtual experience, where you go from going on a website and having artificial intelligence, an AI powered website to screen your interview and to guide you through the process, to when you are selected and you have a face-to-face interview the way we're having here today, to actually meeting with your team virtually, having an offer and joining your team. And you could, and I predict, you could actually go through the entire virtual recruiting process, get hired, work with your team, perhaps for a period of a year or more without ever meeting them, and leave the team. Now that is unprecedented, but we already have predictions from Facebook where they're, up to a half of their 50,000 employees could work remotely by 2030. So it's not an impossible prediction that you could go through an entire recruiting process, continue to work remotely, never meet your team, and then leave your team. So that has implications for the quality of employee experience. That has implications for how engaged you feel as an employee, and certainly has implications for performance management and learning and development. All of the HR processes that we've been talking about that should go virtual are now, it's now mandatory. They have to.
Absolutely. And I think, only when this AI driven recruitment and conducting of interviews and shortlisting of candidates, only then can the actual HR managers channelize their energy into something more creative and innovative, right?
Absolutely. We've also been doing some work about the new HR jobs of the future. And one of them is human and machine teaming manager. And that's exactly what it sounds exactly what it is, as more routine tasks are taken over by a chatbot. And this is especially true in the talent acquisition function, where there are many routine tasks, and companies have been doing this for a very long time, about 5 years. There's a new job, and one of our clients has already named it the chatbot coach. So a human now has to understand what are the tasks that I'm going to be doing to to drive success for my department and my organization, and what are the individual tasks that the chatbot will do. So this new blended workforce is entirely changing. It's no longer the blend between full-time workers and gig economy workers, but today it's the blend between full-time workers, gig workers, and bots.
Absolutely. That was such an enlightening explanation. Just to wrap this interview up, Jean, do you have any last sound bites you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, I think I said at the beginning, the future of work is the future of worker well-being. I'd like to challenge everyone that's listening to ask themselves, what are you doing today to further your well-being, to further your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, your physical well-being, and your mental well-being? Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't really take care of our families, and we can't do the best work for our organizations.
Absolutely. That was an amazing answer. Thank you very much. And Jean, it was wonderful having you today at our interview series and talking to you. And it was really an enriching experience for me. And I think if I can learn so much in a span of 20 minutes, I'm sure our audience are going to benefit from this as well. And I really appreciate you, taking the time and sharing your views with us. So thank you. Stay safe and we'll surely keep in touch, Jean.
Thank you so much.